Hello friends. What if Naruto's training under the Third Hokage was already turning him into a shinobi far beyond his age? Welcome to Part 2, where legendary training, powerful techniques, and a new destiny continue to unfold. Before we begin, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Let's get started. The class was still in shock as this woman stood proudly in front of her banner. Some of the boys were gawking at her mostly because of how she was dressed. After a few seconds, Haruka appeared from behind the banner. He didn't look very happy with the woman in front of him. "Why do you do this every time?" Haruka asked, annoyed. "What flew up your butt and died?" "I'm just here to pick up my team," Enko said. "The senseis of the teams are supposed to pick them up after lunch," Haruka explained. "Oh, sorry about that," Enko said sheepishly. She turned to the class. "Which one of you is Team 12? The class pointed to Naruto, Yakumo and Jacken very quickly. Enko took 3 kunai and threw them at each of them. They flinched a little, but the kunais were never meant to hit them. They looked to see a small note attached to it. "What's this?" asked Jacken. "That's the location of where I'll be. I'm certainly not returning to come and get you, so you'll meet me there. Just make sure that you're prepared and bring your weapons," Enko instructed. "Why would we need to do that?" asked Yakumo. Enko smiled, but it was a happy smile. "You'll see, ha, ha, ha," Enko said with a dark chuckle. Enko left through the window. Naruto, Yakumo and Jacken looked at Haruka, who just sighed. It was now noon and Team 12 was making their way to the location on the paper. Yakumo walked with Naruto while Jacken was ahead of them. It was mostly because Yakumo kept herself and Naruto away from him. Jacken didn't bother to look back at them. Naruto looked at the team he was put on and sighed. He was also curious about his old sensei's reason for placing Jacken together with him. While he may have forgiven Jacken on the attempt of his life, he had not forgotten about it. Still, the old man must have had a reason. He would trust his judgment on this. After a while, they finally reached the location. It looked like a training ground, but it was covered by a gate. It had danger signs all over the place. The forest was massive and dark. They all looked around for Enko when they heard the sound of something flying through the air. They each deflected something with kunai and waited. "I'll give you little snots an A- for your reflexes but an F for your defensive positions," Enko's voice rang out. The team found her sitting out a branch with a dango stick in her mouth. She dropped off the branch and landed in front of them. Each of them was still cautious of her intentions, which pleased her. "Don't worry, I'm no longer going to attack. Let's get our introductions over with before we continue." "What are you talking about?" Yakumo asked. "What are you, stupid? Introduce yourselves. What are your likes, dislikes, hobbies, interests, stuff like that," Enko said. "Why do you go first? You are the unknown among the group," Naruto said. "That is true. The name is Enko Midarashi, interrogator and assassin. My likes are snakes, blood, dango and a little fun," Enko said suggestively. "I dislike a lot of things, too much to say. Interesting, I would say scaring the crap out of people and pissing people off," she said. The team looked at her in confusion and shock. "This chick is crazy," Jacken thought. "She likes blood. What kind of sick people does the ninja force have?" Yakumo thought. "She's hiding something. Whatever it is, it has caused her a lot of pain," Naruto thought as he observed her. Enko looked at the team and smirked. "Are you thinking bad thoughts about me? They all went rigged. Naughty children, I should punish you. But since we are on the clock, I'll let it slide," Enko said with amusement. She then pointed to Naruto. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like my friends, ramen, jutsu, the old man and his family. I dislike the 3 minutes that it takes for ramen to finish, people who are quick to judge and a certain condition of mind. My interests include meditation, pranks and learning jutsu," Naruto said. Enko nodded and then pointed at Yakumo. "I am Yakumo Kurama. I like my friends, my family, genjutsu and sweets. My dislikes are Jacken, Kurenai Yuhi, ID and Neji Hyuga. My interests include tea ceremonies, learning genjutsu and reading," she said. Enko smirked at her before pointing at Jacken. The name is Jacken, just Jacken. I like spicy stuff, cute girls and fighting. I dislike midgets, pampered princesses and crazy women. My interests include fighting, training and sleeping. Jacken said plainly. So, I have a bully who is clearly overcompensating for something, Jacken glared at her. A woman with a hit list and sweet tooth, Yakumo glared at her. And a monk who's a mystery, Naruto glared at her. Well, I've worked the worst. Okay then, let's get to the business at hand. It's time for you guys to take the real test. Test? What test? We are already Genin. Jacken shouted. Did you really believe that just because you can do a clone, a replacement and a transformation you're automatically Genin of Konoha? Give me a break. The true exam is given by me and we're about to start. Anko disappeared from view. All three Genin were struck in the temple and were knocked unconscious. Anko reappeared over her three fallen future students. Right now. Yakumo awoke and rubbed her head. She didn't understand why it hurt a little until she remembered what the crazy woman did. Finally, you're up. Yakumo turned to see Jacken. She immediately went for a kunai when she was stopped by Naruto. This isn't Yakumo. Naruto said. Yakumo nodded but still glared at the older teen. He just sighed and looked around the place. Naruto did the same as Yakumo. Where are we? She asked. My guess is that we're in the forest. Naruto said. Figure that out on your own, genius. Jacken mocked. Why don't you shut up, Jacken? At least he's trying to find a way out of this. Bet you're just plotting your next murder. Yakumo spat. You know something, I'm getting sick and tired of your crap. You don't even know the events that led up to what I did. I don't need to be judged by someone who can't even control her own powers. Jacken shouted. Don't speak as if you know me. Yakumo roared. Why don't you follow your own advice? Jacken roared back. Shut up, the both of you. There's something coming. Naruto shouted. That something turned out to be a huge blue-colored snake. It beards its fangs at them and launches itself at them. They all jumped out of the way as the snake crashed into where they were standing. They each landed and faced the reptile that looked at each of them. The snake looked at Naruto and moved fast to ensnare him. Naruto saw it coming and disappeared before the snake could wrap him up. He popped out of the ground next to Yakumo. The girl looked at him. Let's get the hell out of here. She shouted. We can't leave, Jacken. I need you to use an area-wide genjutsu. Naruto said. Yakumo looked ready to complain but nodded. She did some hand seals. Megan. Jubaku Satsu. Yakumo shouted. Thousands of vines shot out of the ground and wrapped around the snake. The snake bucked against the vines but couldn't free itself. Naruto called Jacken, who did not argue. Together they all ran into the forest. As they ran, Jacken turned to his teammates. I figured that you two would have left me to the snake. He said. I wanted to but Naruto stopped me. Yakumo said. Whatever, I'll pay you back later. Not like I want to own you anything. Jacken spoke. Kami, what the hell was the Hokage thinking? I would have gladly been with Lee rather than you. Yakumo spat. Oh, here we go again. Jacken said. Okay, I'm sick of this. Naruto growled. He stopped and stood his ground. The other two stopped as well. Naruto, what are you doing? That snake will be after us soon. Yakumo said. I'm sick and tired of this argument stuff. I refuse to run along with either of you with all this bickering. We're a team and a team sticks together despite their dislike for each other. Naruto shouted. He turned to Jacken. Our history is not the best in the world. You don't respect me and I don't respect you. I may have forgiven the attack but I have not forgotten. Still, I will trust you with my life because I trust your skills. Naruto then turned to Yakumo. Yakumo, you are one of my best friends but you must let this go. You really don't know the story behind the attack. You can't just keep alienating him just before something that was out of his control. Both Jacken and Yakumo looked a bit shameful as Naruto dressed them down. Naruto took a deep breath and looked at them. Look, I'm not saying we have to be friends but we are comrades. Let's just put our differences aside so we can get out of this Saika's death trap. He said. Yakumo and Jacken looked at each other before turning back to Naruto. Fine, I'll work with you, Uzumaki. Just as long as you know that we ain't friends. Jacken said. I guess I can put my differences aside. Yakumo said a little snotty. Good, because I'm really going to need your help. Something tells me that crazy woman sent that snake after us. Naruto said. So what is your plan, Uzumaki? Jacken asked. The snake slithered across the ground looking for its prey. Her mistress said that they had headed in this direction. I wondered why she was playing these games. That damn woman told her that there was food for her in the form of 3 humans. She said nothing about them being ninja. Suddenly she was on edge. There was something in the area that told her to be cautious. She moved silently across the ground and looked out for any attack. That's when it suddenly got dark. The snake lifted her head to see a huge fireball coming at her. She slithered fast as the fireball hit the ground with a boom. Suddenly, she began to descend into darkness and there was a bright flash of light. Then there was darkness again. Team 12 appeared out of trees and looked as if their trap was successful. Their attacker was under rubble and now dead. Well, that worked out well. Jacken said. Pretty anticlimactic if you ask me. Yakumo said. Suddenly there was a rumble from inside the pit. The snake shot out of the ground and hissed angrily at the team. She caught sight of Naruto and swung her tail. Naruto dodged the first strike but did see the second attack. He was sent flying into a large tree. Naruto fell to the ground in a heap and groaned in pain. The snake charged at the fallen Naruto when a sickle slashed her across the nose. She roared in pain as Yakumo and Jacken checked on Naruto. The snake hissed at them and readied itself for an attack. Jacken stood in front of the two, surprising Yakumo. Jacken held a custom kusarigama and stood in a defensive stance. How is he? He asked, not taking his eyes off the snake. I'll be fine. Naruto grunted out. Yakumo helped him to his feet. He stood next to Jacken. Okay, anybody come up with a plan B? I say we turn this lizard into a wallet and be done with it. Did the Sandame teach you any fire jutsus? Jacken asked. No. I know the Kage Bunshin, Mizu Bunshin, Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu and the Academy stuff. Naruto answered. What about you? Jacken asked Yakumo. I only know Genjutsu that my uncle taught me. Yakumo explained. All right then, you cover us. Pipsqueak, give me a diversion and I'll rip this lizard's eye out. Jacken ordered. The two nodded and prepared themselves. The large snake hissed and lunged at them. That's enough. A voice rang out. The snake stopped its lunge and turned to the sound of the voice. Team 12 did so as well and they saw their sensei. The snake moved toward her, hissing angrily at her. Oh, stop your whining. So they nicked your nose. At least they impressed me. Now go home and rest. The snake hissed once more before leaving in a puff of smoke. With the snake gone, Naruto gave out and grabbed his chest. Yakumo and Jacken caught him before he hit the ground. Enko walked up to them. He looks hurt. Why don't we get out of the forest? Enko asked cheerfully. The walk through the forest was a quiet but tense journey. Enko ignored the glares of Yakumo, Naruto and Jacken. Naruto was able to walk under his own power after a few minutes, which brought questions to his teammates' head. Enko could feel the intent of the three and it just made her smile more. Well, I got to say that you three surprised me. Considering your history, I thought that you would fail. You almost did, and if it wasn't for the blonde, I would have just allowed my pet to eat you. Enko said without facing them. So, it was you. Naruto growled. Don't be like that. I did say that you three surprised me. Now, we can get to the true life of a ninja. Enko said. What the hell are you talking about? Jacken spat. You passed my test but just barely. Enko mocked. You psycho. You call what you did to us a test? You could have killed us. Yakumo shouted. If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead. Besides, I wanted to know if it was possible to put your history behind you and work as a team. This was a test of teamwork. Naruto asked. Enko stopped and faced her team. According to the Hokage, you three have the potential to be an espionage assassination team. Each of you has the skills for it. Usually, spies work alone, but you guys make a solid team. This test was just to see if you can each put your petty dislike for each other behind you to work together. Enko explained. There could have been a better way to do this. Yakumo growled. Where's the fun in that? Enko asked and resumed walking. The team sighed and followed her. It would be another hour before they reached the exit. Enko locked the place up before turning her attention back to her team. Well, I've got to go and let the Hokage know of my team's success. Meet me here at 8. She said and was gone. The team just looked at each other for a little while. Naruto finally broke the silence. I'm heading to Ichiraku's. Are you guys coming? Naruto asked. Are you buying? Jacken asked. Naruto just shrugged and walked away. Jacken followed him with his hands in his pockets. Yakumo soon followed and the three of them made their way to the ramen stand. Enko walked toward the Hokage's office with a bit of a step. She had finally beaten those stuffy old crones and had gotten herself a team. She began to think about the torture that she would put them through. She giggled like a schoolgirl before she reached the office of the Sandane. The secretary looked at her and allowed her to pass. She entered the room with a big smile. Lord Hokage, I have some great news. Enko said her mood was deflating. Inside with the Sandame were three of her most hated people. They were the elders of Konoha. Hiruzen gave her an apologetic look before she spoke. Enko Mitarashi, how was your test? At Ichiraku Ramen, Team 12 was eating their ramen in silence. The stand's owners, Tuki and Ayame, felt the tension in the air between the group. Naruto was now on his third bowl while Jacken was eating a very large beef ramen. Yakumo was picking at her food as she thought back to what Naruto had shouted at her back in the forest. She took a deep breath and turned to her new teammates. Naruto, Jacken, Yakumo called out. The two stopped eating to look at her. If you would, can you tell me why it happened? Why what happened? Naruto asked. Why did he try to kill you? Yakumo answered. She saw Jacken get ready to leave and quickly spoke. What I mean is, if you can explain to me. Do you really know what to know or are you just going to judge? Jacken asked with a sarcastic tone. No, please explain it to me. If we are truly to be a team, then we should get it all out. Yakumo said. Jacken looked at her for a few seconds before smirking. All right then, I was ordered to kill Naruto. Jacken said. What does that mean? Asked Yakumo. It's just like I said, I was ordered to kill Naruto by my father. He said. Why would your father want Naruto dead? Yakumo asked. You got me, it seems like most of the village hates the pipsqueak. My father beat me up and told me not to come back until I killed him. Jacken said. Yakumo still didn't understand but she was very aware about how the village treated Naruto. With the exception of the Sandame's family, the ramen stand owners and her clan, everyone else hated Naruto. She had asked him about that once and Naruto didn't tell her. She didn't push him as he told her that one day he would explain it. You know, I don't understand why the village doesn't like you. Is it because of those pranks you did back in the day? Jacken asked. Not really, it's much bigger than that which I'm not going to explain. Yakumo and Lee, I'll tell you someday but you've got a long way before I tell you anything. Naruto replied. Jacken just snorted at him. You can keep your secrets pipsqueak. I don't care one way or the other. Just as long as you watch my back, I'll watch yours. Jacken said. The team went back to eating in silence before Jacken spoke again. So, what's the deal with your powers Yakumo? Word around the village, you nearly killed your parents with it. Once in a generation, there is a member of my clan whose ability in genjutsu is so strong that it makes the damage real. I am one of those people. I was being trained to control it but the person I thought I could trust didn't trust my abilities and sealed my powers. I misinterpreted a discussion and got angry. The result was the fire. Yakumo explained. This caused Jacken to chuckle. So you had a temper tantrum? Jacken asked, trying to hold in his laughter. Yakumo glared at him and looked ready to cast a just on him. Calm down you two, you're not going to fight around the stand. This is holy ground and I will not allow you to disturb it. Naruto said strongly. Okay, I'll stop. Jacken said. Yakumo huffed and turned back to her ramen. So, can you control it now? He asked. I can but only a little. The seal that Jiraiya-sama placed on me allows my second personality and I to merge powers. Yakumo said. She lifted the back of her hair to show the seal that was placed on her. So do you have a special type of genjutsu you like to use? Jacken asked. Well, our clan mostly uses binding genjutsu to disable our opponents, Yakumo said when Jacken cut her off. That's dull. Oh, you know what you should do. Conjure up ghosts or specters. Jacken said excitedly. I've been saying that for years now. Finally, someone makes sense. Naruto added. You are both so juvenile. Yakumo huffed. The team continued their talks until they were full. A slam of a hand on Sandane's desk was heard from outside. Inside, Homura was glaring at Anko. Kaharu also looked very angry while Hiruzen and Danzo looked calm. Anko just dug into her ear like it was no big deal. What the hell were you thinking, Mitarashi? Not only did you take 3 fresh genin into the forest of death, but one of them was a clan heiress. Homura shouted. I didn't know that I had to coddle an heiress. I thought I was training ninja. Anko said without a care. That will be enough of your attitude. What you did was reckless and stupid. Kaharu added. They survived, didn't they? I thought you would be happy to know that they passed. Anko countered. By your report, they barely passed your exam. Danzo spoke. Yeah, but they have so much potential. I can work with them easily and it would be fun. Anko said with a smile. Do you see how stupid it was to make her a Jonin sensei? Who knows what she has planned for them? Homura said. Despite her lack of judgment, she now has a team. I trust Anko will do right by her new team. Hiruzen said. Homura scoffed and walked out of the room. Danzo and Kaharu soon followed, giving Anko dirty looks. Anko sneered at them. Dried up old fossils, Anko muttered. So, can you bring out their potential, Anko? Hiruzen asked. No sweat, I'll make them into the most badass team ever. Anko cheered. Hiruzen only smirked at her antics. The next day, Team Anko met back at the training grounds. Anko looked at her charges and noticed that they were a bit different than before. While they all held a similar expression, it seemed like they had put their pettiness farther behind them. She dared to think that they had become friends. Okay, my little rats, today you are true ninjas. Before we begin, it's time to learn the rules of Anko. Anko spoke. Rules of Anko. Yakumo repeated. That sounds foreboding. Jacken added. Foreboding this is going to be torture. Naruto added. If you all are quite done, Anko said with an edge. The 3 genin clammed up and waited for her to finish. Rule number 1, I'm the boss and you will do as I say. Rule number 2, you will give it your all when we train. I don't want to hear your ing about how hard it is. Rule number 3, there will be no talking about my training. To do so, would result in a horrible punishment. The group gulped. There are more rules but you'll learn them as we go along. Now, it's training time. Anko said and summoned some snakes. All right, maggots, laps around the forest. Let's go. The snakes hissed and gave chase to the 3 genin who took off like a shot. It was now noon and Anko looked at her laid out genin. She sighed and placed her hands on her hips. You 3 are pathetic. I can't believe that you're so tired after an hour of spar. You almost had me last time. Anko said. Psychotic, muttered Jacken. I'll make you pay, muttered Yakumo. You've made my list, muttered Naruto. Anko sighed at them. If you have the energy to threaten me, then I guess you don't need lunch. Anko said with a smile. They groaned and picked themselves off the ground. They glared at their teacher and readied themselves for another assault. As they made their move, an alarm clock rang. Anko clapped her hands together. That ends today's training. Go and get some lunch and meet me at the tower. She ordered before disappearing via Shunshin. Why do I feel that we will not live through this? Yakumo asked. Could it be worse? Naruto said. We are under the control of a crazy and mentally unstable kunoichi with a fetish for pain. How could it be worse than this? Jacken asked. We could be under someone just as bad. Naruto said lamely. Jacken and Yakumo gave him a look. Team 12 entered the mission to get their first mission. Each was very anxious to dive into the world of their profession. They all noticed that Anko was trying to hold in laughter for some reason. They looked at the Hokage, who gave them a smile. Team 12, are you ready for your first mission? Hiruzen asked. Yes, Hokage-sama. They all said. Good. Your first mission is the capture of the daimyo's cat, Tora. Hiruzen said. All three genin looked at the Hokage with a look of pure shock. Anko took this moment to get a picture of their expressions. It would be one of her most favorite pictures for years to come. 1 month, one of the longest months of Naruto's, Yakumo's and Jaken's life. How could they call these chores missions? So far, they had done nothing but these chores for a whole month. They all glared at their sensei, who just watched their humiliation with a grin. How were the skills they learned in the academy supposed to work to do such things? Anko did explain what these missions were supposed to do, but it didn't make them any more annoying. Their first mission was one of the hardest missions to date. Whatever Madame Shijimi was doing to the blasted thing, needed to stop and stop now. The next time the cat got free, Team 12 was going to kill it. It was something that each member of the team agreed on. In fact, Anko was barely in time to save the cat from a pitfall that was laced with pikes at the bottom. Then there was the mission to babysit the Terror Twins. The twins of a councilman were nothing but trouble and were very defiant in taking orders from any of them. They actually managed to behave one time for the team. However, that mission was given away to another genin squad. Naruto's game of ninja got a little out of hand. The hero twins were pissing their pants as Jaken's version of a guillotine was used with real weapons. Now, there was this mission. They currently were at the Inuzuka kennels. The mission was to wash the dogs, a very simple mission. Jaken was having a much easier time cleaning the dogs. When he was asked, all he said was, "It's an animal thing." Naruto wasn't having too many problems. There were some dogs that he kept away from since they growled at him, but he was getting the job done. The one who had the most problems was Yakumo. She was still attempting to get the same dog washed. It was a small white puppy that didn't wish to get washed. It belonged to a rude and rowdy boy named Kiba. Kiba just laughed at Yakumo, who was getting angrier with every passing minute. Then Kiba did something incredibly stupid. "I can't believe they let a weak girl like you graduate. The academy is going to be a breeze," Kiba commented. Yakumo stopped chasing the puppy and took a deep breath. Kiba looked at her in confusion when he saw her begin to change. The sky began to get dark and Yakumo's hair began to whip around wildly. When she turned to face him, Kiba looked very afraid. Yakumo's face turned old and scary. Her hands turned into claws. Her teeth sharpened and looked like needles. Yakumo unleashed an inhuman screech which scared Kiba stiff. "Do you have something to say, you little?" Yakumo asked in a scary, high-pitched voice. When Kiba said nothing, her head grew and her fangs got wider. "I said, do you have something to say?" No ma'am," Kiba squeaked. "Leave," Yakumo shouted. Kiba took off like a shot, a trail of water coming from his pants. Yakumo suddenly returned to normal before looking at the puppy, who was also scary stiff. She glared at the puppy before pointing to the tub of soap and water. The puppy complied and hopped into the tub. Yakumo sighed before doing her job. Her teammates looked at her in shock and awe. "That was badass." Jaken saw, stunned. "Wow, she's scarier than Anko-sensei," Naruto whispered. Yakumo snapped her head toward the two who held their hands up in defense. Anko only smiled in amusement. Anko and her team walked out of the Hokage Tower. They were all tired and couldn't wait to get home. Suddenly, they noticed that Anko had stopped. All three looked at her cautiously. Anko saw this and looked a bit hurt. "Oh come on, I'm not that bad," Anko said with a pout. The team wasn't buying it and stood in alert. She smiled and raised her hands in surrender. Okay, I'll behave. I just have to say that I am." Anko looked around for a second and saw that there were too many people here. She quickly led her team into an alley where they can be alone. Once she was sure that no one could hear them, she continued. "As I was saying, I want to say that you've been doing a great job as of late." The team looked at her in shock. Oh my god, it's an imposter. Jacken shouted. He got kicked in the face by Anko and was sent flying out the alley. That's what I get for being nice. Be at the training grounds at 8 a.m. Anko said and walked away. Yakumo and Naruto looked at each other before going over to their teammate. Hiruzen looked at several reports that he received daily from patrols. It wasn't anything new to him, as such was the life of a Hokage. He reached for one of the reports and began to read. As he kept reading, he began to get a little worried. He made a signal to his Anbu. One of them appeared and bowed. I want Aoba Yamashiro and Reito Namiyashi here now. Hiruzen ordered. The Anbu nodded and was gone. Minutes later, 2 Jonin entered along with that Anbu member. The Anbu disappeared while Aoba and Reito remained kneeling. Rise, I want you to tell me about this report. He handed the report to Reito, who read it over. What is it that you did not understand, sir? Reito asked. The place you investigated when you were returning, where was it located? Hiruzen asked. Aoba went to the map of the Fire Country and pointed it out. Hiruzen's eyes narrowed. What did you find? We found nothing, sir. All we found were some broken breakers and dead-looking samples. We found nothing out of the ordinary. Aoba answered. Hiruzen sighed at that. Thank you both, you are dismissed. Hiruzen said. Hi. They said and left via Shunshunt body flicker. Hiruzen looked at the spot that Aoba showed with concern. He knew that area and that cabin. It was a present to one of his students from back in his youth. It was his favorite student and had asked for a place outside of Konoha to do his research. He happily found him a spot and built a cozy cabin for him. This was before he turned rogue and disappointed him. Hiruzen thought there had to be more at that spot. His wayward student would not just leave things alone for no reason. He needed this investigated. He considered sending an Anbu team, but he decided that this would be better if the person knew his former student's ways. It would be a risky decision considering that he did the same to her, but he had no choice. Taking a scroll, he began to write instructions. Once it was over, he took a stamp and placed it on the scroll. He looked to his left again and the Anbu member appeared. Summon Anko Mitarashi. Near training ground 44, Team 12 was doing a new exercise. They had each learned the tree walking exercise to an acceptable level that Anko was currently showing them how to utilize chakra better. She was teaching them how to stick to the tree from many parts of their body, which was why they were currently doing pull-ups using just their fingers to hold them. Anko watched on as her team did the exercise. That's it, my little brats, feel the burn, Anko said. She then took a bottle of lighter fluid and sprayed onto the bonfire she had under them. The fire went a bit higher, making the team do their exercises faster. Feel the burn, she said calmly. Suddenly, she felt a presence in the air. She turned just as the Anbu member appeared. Anko Mitarashi, you are too, he began, but saw the scene before him. Sighing, he did a few hand seals. Sweeten, Suihachi. He held out his palm and a jet of water shot out, putting out the fire. Hey! Anko exclaimed. The Hokage wants you to report to him now. The Anbu said and disappeared. Anko had a slight frown on her face. She turned back to her genin. Okay, I'm going to see what the Hokage wants. Continue your exercises while I'm gone. Anko said before she vanished. The team sighed in relief when Anko returned again. I completely forgot, Kuchio's no jutsu. Summoning technique. The dust cleared to reveal the snake from their final exam. My here is going to keep you company. She turned to her summon. If they slack off, you can eat them. She told the snake before leaving again. The snake looked at them and seemed to smile. They all had one thing to say. You crazy. They all shouted. Anko arrived in the Hokage's office and bowed to him. I've arrived as ordered, sir. What is it that you wish for me? Anko asked. Read this report, Anko. Hiruzen said and handed her the report. Anko took it and kept on reading. When she reached the part that he noticed, he saw the change in her. Do you remember this place? Yes, it was one of many hidden labs he had. It was the first one he took me to. Anko said. Then there is a secret lab at that location. Hiruzen muttered with a sigh. Sir, allow me and a team to go and deal with this place. We will burn it to the ground immediately. Enko said. It has already been arranged. Hiruzen said. But sir, that bastard deserves to pay. Enko shouted. That's enough. It has already been arranged. The reason I called you in is to confirm my suspicions. Hiruzen said. Enko looked ready to explode but quickly composed herself. It is your will, Hokage-sama. If you will excuse me, Enko said. Hiruzen nodded as Enko walked toward the door. Mitarashi, Hiruzen called out. Enko turned just to see a scroll coming to her. She caught it and noticed that it was marked with a C. She looked back at him. I want you to find any information and then destroy the lab. Hokage-sama. Thank you Hokage-sama. Enko said. Enko, Hiruzen said, catching her attention again. Remember, you are responsible for their lives. Do not go off on your own to settle a score. Enko nodded, bowed and left. Hiruzen sighed and rubbed his forehead. He hoped that this was a good idea. Still, he had faith in Enko that she would protect her team from any danger, including her past. The next day saw Team 12 at the gates. They were ordered by Enko to pack for about 3 to 5 days. They stood and awaited their sensei. They didn't have to wait long as Enko appeared before them. She had a serious look on her face that didn't really match her personality. She explained to them the mission and they began to move out. She moved very fast and the team had a hard time keeping up with her. She looked back at them. What the hell are you doing? Hurry the hell up. Enko shouted. Why don't you slow the hell down? This place is only a few hours away. Jacken mumbled. He suddenly found himself ensnared by snakes. With a jerk, Enko flung him into a tree. He groaned as Enko appeared in front of him. She took him by the throat and held him in place. You got something to say, you say it out loud. When I say to move you move your. Enko shouted. Enko-sensei, stop it. Yakumo called out. Jacken is voicing the opinion of all of us. You're pushing us too hard to get to a place that is only hours away. You're acting weird, Naruto added. Enko turned to glare at her students before letting him go. She took off without them and continued on. Yakumo checked on Jacken as Naruto looked at his sensei's retreating form. What is her problem? She's been like this since we left the village. Jacken cursed. I know what you mean. She's acting much too differently than we're used to. Yakumo added. What's your take on this pipsqueak? Jacken asked Naruto. She's pretty guarded about something and this mission we're on has made her even more unbearable. Whatever it is, we better keep an eye out for her. Naruto said. We should probably keep an eye out for ourselves if she's acting like this. Jacken said. Don't say that. Yakumo exclaimed. She's our sensei and we have to look out for her as she would for us. Yakumo said as she took off. Naruto shrugged and jumped off as well. Jacken rubbed his throat before doing the same. Enko kept moving in order to get to the location in a hurry. She hoped that her team had turned and gone back to Konoha. She made herself promise to apologize for the way she acted against them. She knew that she was being but when it came to that man, she couldn't help it. That man who betrayed her trust and love for him, the same man who left alone to be an outcast among her peers, that man who was one of Konoha's top missing nin. That man's name was Orochimaru. She remembered the first time meeting one of the famous 3 legendary ninja. He came to the academy when her class graduated to choose an apprentice. He gave her one look and smiled. He picked her, which shocked her greatly. She was happy though that she got to train one-on-one with the great genius Orochimaru. It was hard but she grew stronger and learned all types of forbidden jutsu. She was also his lab assistant. She was a bit uncomfortable about that but she would do anything for Orochimaru. He continued to train her and they continued to do the experiments. That all changed one day. He abandoned her to the mercy of Konoha while he fled to do more experiments. It was a blow that she barely recovered from. She was an outcast and was not trusted among her fellow ninja. The villagers were also wary of her. She later created her persona to deal with everything and worked harder than most to gain the respect that she had. Despite it all, Orochimaru's abandonment still stung. She would always ask in the back of her mind what she did to be thrown aside like that. She did everything that he wanted without complaint. Why did he abandon her? Why did he not take her with him? Why did he give her this mark? Enko rubbed her shoulder before focusing on reaching the cabin. Hey you crazy, wait the hell up. A shout caught her attention. She stopped to look back to see her team. They landed in front of her and took several breaths. Enko looked at them with a neutral expression. Damn you're fast, why the hell did you leave without us? Jacken exclaimed. I thought you would have gone back to Konoha. Enko said. And miss out on our first C-rank mission, no way. Naruto exclaimed. I'm with the pipsqueak on this. I'll put up with your PMS if I get to continue this mission. Jacken added. Yakumo just nodded. Enko looked at the three before turning her back to them. Whatever, we'll rest for 20 minutes before we continue on. She said and dropped to the ground. The team followed her and was happy to do it. The land of sound, formerly the land of rice fields, was on the border on the land of fire. They were known for imports of rice and wheat. However, that all changed when one man came into the land and completely took over. He swept into the land under the cover of darkness and was ruler before the sun rose. That same person convinced the daimyo to create his own ninja village. This man and his men would later call this land the Land of Sound and later form the Hidden Sound Village. A young girl walked through the halls of the underground bunker. She had her hood up to cover her face. A white sash flowed behind her as she made her way toward the throne room to see the leader of this village. Her slender arms had tattoos of a snake. She didn't wear any footwear but carried herself like royalty. She finally reached the main room of the bunker and entered without introducing herself. The people inside tensed up but calmed down when they saw who it was. The girl folded her arms and waited in annoyance. Why have you summoned me here, Orochimaru? She asked, irritated. Watch how you talk to Lord Orochimaru. One person exclaimed. Quiet drone, adults are talking. She said. The person tensed but a hand calmed him down. Orochimaru looked at the girl. It has been so long since Midoshi. At least allow me to see that beautiful face of yours. Orochimaru said. Midoshi did nothing at first but complied and removed her hood. Her green eyes bore into Orochimaru's who only smiled at her. My word, you have gotten more beautiful. You are 12 now, correct? I grow tired of you. Why was I summoned here? Midoshi asked with an edge. Fine, I have a task for you. Orochimaru said. A task? Do you forget who you are talking to? I am not one of your drones to command. She said. But this requires your expert skills, Midoshi. I would be forever grateful if you did me this favor. He said. Midoshi just scoffed before looking at the former Sanin. Orochimaru got off his throne and walked up to her. He handed her a scroll which she opened. She read over what was on the scroll. I do this and I never get to see your face again. Midoshi said. You wounded me, child. I'm doing such a good job taking care of you. Your godfather must be pleased. Orochimaru said. My godfather hates you as much as I do. The only reason you're kissing me is because you don't wish to lose the snake contract. I'm not as stupid as your drones. She said. She threw the scroll to the floor and left using a shunshin. Orochimaru looked at the scroll and frowned. One of his personal guards walked up to him. My lord, why do you put up with her? He asked. She has a great purpose that will never die. Should we anger her, she may turn on us and destroy our plans. For now, I will allow her to be disrespectful. Orochimaru explained. The ninja bowed at his master and dropped the subject. Team 12 was moving at a slower pace than before. Enko was still in her mood but she was at least taking it easier on them. It would be 3 hours of travel before they reached the cabin that Enko told them about. They moved carefully to the cabin and readied themselves to enter. Enko gave Jacken a nod and he kicked the door open. They all entered the cabin, kunais ready to be thrown. They all searched the place for enemies. All clear, shouted Jacken. Clear here as well, shouted Yakumo. Clear, Naruto shouted. All clear. Gather up, Enko ordered. The team met around her and she led them toward a room. Enko looked around the room before she found the switch. She pulled it and a secret door opened up. The team looked down the stairs. Enko turned to her team. From now on, be on full alert. We don't know what to expect. Into the belly of the beast, Naruto said. And out of the demons. Jacken finished. With Anko at the head, Team 12 descended down into the unknown. The walk down the flight of stairs was a long and dark one. Anko advised her team to stay sharp and to prepare for anything. The team was careful not to trip any traps on their long way down. They began to ask more questions about this place, but Anko kept her mouth shut. It put them off a bit, but they continued to follow her down. Anko sighed a bit and did feel bad about how she was treating her team. Still, this was her problem and she didn't feel that it was right to bring them into it. That man was hers to kill and no one else. They finally reached the bottom of the stairs and were now looking down a dark and long corridor. They were still on high alert and wary of traps. Surprisingly, it didn't take long for them to reach a dark room. Son of AI can't see a damn thing. Jacken cursed. Me neither. Is there a light switch around here? Naruto asked. Hang on, I know where it is. Anko said and left the team. She reached the wall and felt where she remembered where it was. She found it and flicked it on. What the team saw would forever haunt them. What the? Naruto said in shock. Oh my god. Yakumo whispered. This is, I can't believe this. Jacken spoke in amazement. Surrounding them were tanks filled with unknown creatures. These didn't look like regular animals at all. Some of them looked to be passing their expiration date. Yakumo couldn't take it anymore and found a spot to throw up. Naruto and Jacken held it in some, but they looked ready to follow Yakumo's example. When Yakumo could speak again, she turned toward her sensei. Is this some type of sick joke? What the hell is this place? She shouted. I didn't ask you three to come with me. You should have headed back to the village. Anko said calmly. Okay, I've had enough of you. Your attitude has finally run its course. You tell us what the hell this place is and tell us now. Jacken shouted. Anko glared at him. Who do you think you're talking to? We're talking to an irresponsible Jonin who needs to grow up. Naruto added. How the hell are we to complete this mission when you completely shut us out? I don't really care what your problem is, but you're putting us at risk. Anko looked on as all the members of her team glared at her in defiance. She scoffed at them, but she would give them what they wanted. We are currently in one of the labs that was constructed by Orochimaru. What you see around you is the result of his experiments. Anko said with an even tone. Orochimaru, the Sannin Orochimaru. The second most dangerous missing nin ever from Konoha, he did this. Jacken exclaimed. Yes, and our mission is to gather information about what he was doing here. Anko said. You could have told us that is what we were doing here. Why did you keep this from us? Naruto demanded. That's none of your business. Anko snapped. She took a breath and looked at her team. Now that you know what the mission is, let's get to work. She said and walked off. The team looked at her retreating back with scowls. This is going to be one of those days. Jacken said with a sigh. I can't believe that she didn't tell us about this. What is her problem? Yakumo asked. It's much deeper than she's letting on. Naruto said. I agree with you there, Pipsqueak. It's like she has a grudge against Orochimaru. Jacken added. Who doesn't have a grudge with him? Old man Hokage was his teacher, and every time he speaks of his students, he talks of him as being his one greatest regret. Naruto explained. So what are we going to do? I hate to say it, but we have to look out for ourselves until we get out of here. Yakumo said. I'm with her. We can't rely on Anko at all. Jacken said. Agreed, Naruto said and placed his fingers in a cross. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 2 copies of Naruto appeared. I'll hang with Anko sensei and you guys go with my clones. We should use our headsets to keep in touch. The other 2 nodded and pulled out their headsets. They set the channel that they were going to be on and tested them. They wished each other luck as they went their separate way. Unknown to them, a pair of eerie yellow eyes watched them. She had a small smile on her face as she listened in on their conversation. A large python slithered across her shoulders and she lovingly petted it. Well, this has turned out quite interesting. Let's have some fun with them. Anko was searching one of the rooms when she felt someone approaching. Naruto entered the room and her eyes narrowed a bit. Naruto didn't look fazed by it. So what happened? You drew the short straw and have to deal with me. Enko mocked. Say what you want. Let's just find something and get out of here. Naruto said rudely. Enko didn't look insulted and continued her search for something important. The two of them continued their search in complete silence. After minutes of not talking, Enko got bored. She looked at her student. So, you've been acting all high and mighty during these few hours. You think just because the Hokage trained you that you can talk to people how you want to? She asked. No, I only talk to people like that when they are being stupid or ignorant. You should have informed us of the mission. In fact, I think the old man was wrong in giving you this mission in the first place. Naruto answered. Oh really? I didn't hear any objections when you guys continued along with me. Wasn't it you who didn't want to miss out on your first C-rank mission? Enko asked mockingly. Yeah, I admit that, but you've acting like we don't matter and it has something to do with your problem with Orochimaru. Naruto argued. Like I told you before, it's none of your business. Enko growled. You made it our business when this mission began. How do you expect us to become a team when you go off on your own like that? How are we to trust you when you won't trust us? Naruto shouted. Enko took a step back as Naruto yelled at her. She was shocked that he was talking to her like a child. Naruto scoffed and placed 2 fingers on his neck. Hey you guys, you got anything for me? What's your status? Jacken heard Naruto's voice over the radio and placed his fingers to his neck. All's quiet over on this end. Nothing to report, Jacken said. He looked at the room he was in. The place reeked of old blood and chemicals. He guessed that Orochimaru did his most gruesome experiments in this room. He could still see the dry blood on the ground and walls. This guy was one sick customer. That's something we agree on. Clone Naruto said in agreement. Did the Hokage tell you anything about this guy Pipsqueak? Jacken asked. Nope, he was pretty tight-lipped about him. All I really know was that he was considered a genius in ninjutsu and that he wished to know every jutsu known in the world. That's crazy and impossible. He would grow old and feeble. Besides, there is always a new jutsu coming out. He would have to be immortal if he ever wanted to do such a thing. Clone Naruto was about to answer him when they both heard something. It sounded like rattling. Jacken looked at the clone. I'm not hearing things, am I? Jacken asked. Only if I'm not hearing the same thing. He answered. I was afraid of that. The two turned and were faced with a large and mean-looking rattlesnake. It bore its fangs at the two and was coiled. Jacken placed his fingers to his neck. We've got a problem. Jacken reported. The snake lunged at them. At the same time Yakumo was searching the computer for information. That's when she got Naruto's call. I've found nothing so far. It seems like the computer was wiped clean. Yakumo reported. She continued to search through the computer just in case there may be something in the hard drive. She suddenly came across something that looked interesting. She saw the file name. Project Jugo, I wonder what that is. She was about to get on her radio when Naruto's clone pulled her away from the computer. He did it just in time as something crashed into the console. When they got their bearings, they were very surprised to see a large cobra looking at them. They clearly saw the serpent's intentions as it launched itself at them. Naruto heard Yakumo's scream over the radio and got worried. Hey guys, what the hell is going on? Naruto shouted. Enko was curious as well and moved closer to listen. Jacken was the first to answer. I can't talk right now. I'm trying to avoid becoming dinner for a rattlesnake. Check back later. Jacken sarcastically replied. Someone else is here and they have sent some very large snakes after us. Yakumo reported. Enko's eyes widened in shock and ripped the head off Naruto. Yakumo, Jacken, report your positions now. Enko ordered. I believe that you have to be more concerned about yourself. The two turned to the voice and Enko was even more shocked at who she saw. Her eyes blazed with rage. Hello my dear Enko, did you miss your dear old sensei? Orochimaru asked. Enko roared and charged at him. The man just smiled and took off. Enko was hot on his heels. Naruto put it back on his radio and relayed it back to his team. "Send your positions to me, I'll send more clones to back you up," Naruto said as he ran out after Anko. He had to jump back as the huge boa nearly ate him up. He watched as the snake blocked his path and growled. He touched his neck. "Looks like we're all in trouble, we have to beat these things and help Anko-sensei." The boa charged at Naruto, who prepared himself for a fight. Anko ran after Orochimaru with urgency. She chucked kunai after kunai at him, but the slippery man dodged them all. Finally having enough, Anko thrust her hand forward. "Sanejishu," she shouted. 4 snakes shot out of herself and launched toward Orochimaru. The man saw this and used his chakra to push himself forward. He jumped and twisted in midair to avoid the attack. He descended to the ground of a large stadium. As he landed, he was about to take off when he was stopped by several kunais. Orochimaru turned to face Anko, who had jumped down to confront him. "I've been waiting for this day. Now it's time to end you," Anko said and got into a stance. Suddenly Orochimaru began to laugh at Anko, but what confused her was that this voice was female. He looked at her with a smile. "Sorry dear," the female voice said. Anko watched as the facade of Orochimaru faded and was replaced by a girl no older than 11. "You're going to have to wait a bit longer for your revenge." "Who the hell are you?" Anko demanded. "The name is Midoshi. You can call me an acquaintance of that pale-skinned freak master of yours," Midoshi answered. "So he's not here?" "Nope, it's just me. I was beginning to think that this trip would be a bore, but it turned out very interesting. It wasn't hard to get you away from your team, which surprises me. I thought Konoha valued teamwork and all that." Anko cursed at the fact that she was easily led on. She needed to get to the brats before those snakes ended their lives. Midoshi noticed where her mind was and put a stop to it. With a shout, she blew the entrance up on both sides of the crater. Anko watched as the entrances were blocked. Now, I went through all that trouble to separate you from them," Midoshi said sweetly. Anko growled at her. "What the hell do you want from me?" Anko spat. "Just a little spar. Orochimaru spoke very highly of your skills. If you impress me enough, I may let you continue to summon my." Anko was shocked at that revelation. "Are you ready yet? I do get terribly bored. You picked the wrong day to be with me, girly. Get ready to die," Anko said and charged at the young woman. Midoshi just smiled. Jacken dodged another lunge of the rattlesnake. He countered by throwing several shuriken at its exposed side. They didn't seem to faze it as the serpent attempted to crush him with its rattle tail. Jacken rolled out of the way and started to launch more shuriken. The rattlesnake's head was his target and he distracted it with his very good aim. Clone Naruto struck from above and stabbed the snake in the neck. It roared and drove its head toward the wall to dislodge the clone. The clone jumped as the rattlesnake crashed into the wall. The clone and Jacken stood together as the rattlesnake shook the cobwebs out. "Alright, this has gone on long enough. It's time to get serious," Jacken said, and he reached into his backpack. He pulled out a weapon and prepared himself to fight. The clone looked at the weapon and saw that he was holding a kusarigama. The blade of the sickle was a bit longer than a regular kusarigama and it was curved to look like a hook. The ball end of the weapon had spikes surrounding it. Jacken began to spin the chain with the ball attachment and moved slowly to his left. The rattlesnake followed his movement and readied itself to strike. It made its move and rocketed toward Jacken. Jacken jumped back and landed on the wall. Using his chakra, he pushed himself off the wall and jumped toward the ceiling at an amazing speed. The snake missed him by inches and slammed into the wall. He wasted no movement and launched his weapon at the rattlesnake. The chain was long enough and it wrapped around the snake's neck, the spiked ball digging into its skin. Jacken pulled himself forward and landed on the snake. He then proceeded to stab the snake repeatedly. The rattlesnake frantically tried to get him off. Jacken continued his assault of the snake, gripping the chain so that he wouldn't fall off. The snake was angry and used its rattle tail to attack. Jacken barely saw it coming and had to stop hacking to avoid it. The snake then began to move its head. The movement of its head loosened the chain. With a final lift, the chain was loose enough for escape. It caught the chain in its mouth and flung Jacken toward the wall. Jacken hit the wall hard and slid to the ground with a groan. Seeing the offender in his sights, the snake made a lunge. "Jacken, close your eyes," the clone shouted. Jacken did as he was told and the clone threw several paper balls at the incoming snake. When it was close enough, the balls exploded and consumed the room in a black powder. Naruto, who had on goggles, picked up Jacken and made his way out of the room. The snake was slamming itself against the walls and howled in pain. "Can I open my eyes now?" Jacken asked. "Yeah, we're out of the room," clone Naruto said. Jacken opened his eyes and began to fall in step with the clone. "What the hell did you do, Pipsqueak?" he asked. "Homemade pepper bombs, I never leave home without them. They are way stronger than any regular one," the clone explained. Jacken nodded and the two continued to run. Their run was cut short when the rattlesnake slammed into the both of them, sending them flying across the hall and into a room. Jacken landed on a table that was filled with beakers. The glass scraped him up but not too badly. When he and the clone looked up, they saw that the snake was not happy. It hissed and opened its mouth wide. The clone kicked Jacken away as the rattlesnake descended. Jacken rolled for a bit and saw that the snake had the clone in its jaw. He growled at the snake as its jaw closed. Now he was alone and the snake would turn its attention to him. "What I wouldn't give for a Kaden jutsu right now. What the hell is that smell?" he wondered. He realized that it was him. He took a look of his surroundings and saw that the room was filled with beakers, all of them had a liquid in them. Could they be chemicals? An idea came to Jacken. He began to twirl his kusarigama at different angles. It moved in a way that the rattlesnake had trouble getting to him. It hissed when the weapon cut its skin if it got close. Jacken's weapon was also breaking the beakers around the room. The chemicals began to fall on the ground and pooled together. Jacken saw smoke forming as more chemicals merged together. He suddenly realized that he might be caught in his plan. That's when he caught sight of an empty oil drum. Stopping what he was doing, he made a dash for the drum. He threw it over himself as the rattlesnake made its way toward him. That's when a spark came out of mixed chemicals. The explosion was loud and shook the ground. Jacken just kept himself in a ball until he thought it was over. After a while, Jacken didn't hear anything. He used his weapon to cut the barrel open. He used his back and feet to push the barrel apart. He surveyed the damage and was amazed at the destruction. He made a note, never to do that again. He reached for the radio when he realized that it was busted. Ignoring his cuts, Jacken took off in search of his teammates. Yakumo threw some more shurikens at the cobra but they did little to bother the snake. She was beginning to get tired as she was not as physically strong as her teammates. While not frail, she couldn't do long battles. She had already lost the clone Naruto sent with her and now she was playing hide, seek and dodge with the large cobra. She did have one chance against the beast, however she was scared. Her fear was that she had not used her sealed powers since the fire those years ago. As Jiraiya told her, her seal would allow her to use her Kekkei Genkei without losing control. He also told her that she would have to train her mind constantly. Her uncle had her do some mental exercises along with a Yamanaka as added insurance. They did help, yet she was still scared of what might happen if it got out of control. She shook her head and banished such thoughts. Her teammates needed her help. She needed to distract the cobra. Taju Bunshin no Jutsu, Yakumo said. The cobra heard her and made a move to get her when copies of her jumped out and ran around the room. The cobra was confused and was randomly attacking her clones. The clones took a page out of Jacken's book and began to sling insults at the cobra. Yakumo, the real one, began to focus her power. She could feel it coursing through her. She opened her eyes that were now glowing red. She quickly did hand seals and called out her attack. Megan, Jigoku Koka no Jutsu. Yakumo shouted. The room got dark and the cobra found itself alone. It began to feel heat and turned to see a huge fireball descending on it. It crashed into it, burning it to a crisp. The cobra hissed as it got burnt. It fell to the ground on fire. It wiggled for a while before it stopped and fell dead. The light came back and Yakumo was on her knees. She was very tired and weak right now. She reached for her pouch and pulled out a soldier pill. She popped it in her mouth and waited a few seconds for her chakra to return. Holy hell, what the hell happened here? A voice shouted. Jacken, is that you? Yakumo shouted. Jacken appeared in front of her and she sighed in relief. Did you do this? I didn't know you knew Kaden jutsus. He said. I don't. That was the work of my Kekkei Genkei. I had to use it to win. Yakumo explained. Jacken looked back to see the cobra that was burned badly on one side. Remind me never to piss you off to use that power. Jacken joked. Yakumo smiled and stood up. Come on, let's find the pipsqueak. Yakumo nodded and the two ran out of the room. Naruto was not having a good time with this boa. He was trying to come up with a plan to get rid of the summons. He had his clones attack it with little success. He needed to take the snake out and fast. He had heard an explosion and was worried about his teammates. Suddenly, he remembered that he had a summons of his own. He bit into his thumb and smeared the blood on his forearm where the monkey tattoo was. He slammed his hand on the ground. Kuchio's no jutsu, Sora. Naruto shouted. From out of the smoke, a damp-looking monkey appeared. The monkey was surprised when he caught sight of the person who called him. You again, what do you want? I was relaxing, Sora said. I'm sorry but I need your help. Naruto said and pointed to the boa who just batted away two more clones. Sora turned back to Naruto. No way, see ya later. Sora said uninterested. What, you're just going to leave? Naruto shouted. Look, I'm not cut out for this fighting stuff. I just want to soak in some hot water. I'll see ya later. Sora said. Naruto was beside himself but he took a couple of deep breaths before coming up with a plan. Suddenly, one came to mind. How about this, you help me now and I promise to get you into the old man's private hot spring. Naruto said. Sora stopped himself and thought about it. He did remember that spring as he was actually summoned by Sarutobi near it. That was a really good soak. Okay then but I'll hold you to that. In fact, let's make that a condition when you summon me. Sora said. Fine, it's a deal. Naruto said. Sora nodded and jumped into the air. He transformed into a Naginata. Naruto smirked as he was trained with such a weapon. He caught Sora and gave him a few spins. After he got used to him, Naruto took up a stance. He launched himself at the boat. The boa didn't see him coming and was stabbed in the eye. The snake hissed in pain and flailed around. Naruto dislodged the weapon from his eye and jumped to the ceiling. He used his chakra to push off and drove the Naginata into its head. The snake lurched forward and hit the ground with a thud. Naruto fell to his knees as the boa was no longer moving. He pulled out Sora and held him in his hand. He didn't have time to savor the victory as he wanted to find his teammates. He ran out of the room in search of them. He didn't get 2 steps out the door when he ran into them. Naruto, you're alright, Yakumo said in relief. I knew that you wouldn't die pipsqueak. Jacken said. Yeah, I'm glad that you guys are alright too. We need to find Anko and get the hell out here. This mission is kind of a bust. Naruto said. They nodded at the idea and ran off to find Anko. The sound of steel rang through the room as Anko and Midoshi made another pass at each other. Midoshi looked barely winded as Anko was breathing quite hard. Midoshi smirked at her. Well, I do admit that you are good but I would expect better from one of Orochimaru's students. Midoshi crowed. I am so going to show you your guts. Anko growled. So you say but I'm barely winded while you're sucking up wind. I just don't see that happening. Midoshi said with a smirk. Anko snarled at her and thrust her hand out. Sanejishu. Anko shouted. 4 black mambas made their way to Midoshi. Please, Midoshi said and held her hand out as well. Sanejishu. The tattoo on her arm transformed into a huge python and ate the mambas in one bite. Surely you have something much better than that. I'm starting to get bored here. Anko growled and threw several shurikens at her. Midoshi dodged the projectiles and dodged Anko's kick. She continued to dodge the taijutsu assault with relative ease. Anko just couldn't get a hit on her. She was suddenly swept off her feet by the veil on Midoshi's waist. Anko fell on her back but was quick to roll to her side as the veil stabbed the ground next to her. It kept on stabbing until Anko was out of range. Anko rolled to her feet and glared at her opponent who was yawning. She needed to wipe that condescending smirk off her face. She calmed herself and started to form a plan. She took out a smoke bomb and threw it to the ground. Midoshi smirked as two clones came out of the smoke, charging at her. They attacked her, which Midoshi easily defended. Suddenly an arm shot out of the ground with a kunai aimed at her. Not bad, she's made this more interesting, Midoshi thought. She bent back to avoid the stab and kicked the kunai out of her hand. She flipped back to her feet and kicked the feet from under one of the clones. She then kicked the other clone 3 times and dispelled it with a vicious spinning hook kick. She then used her veil to stab the other clone in the stomach, dispelling it. 4 snakes appeared and caught her, forcing her to the ground. Fire shot out from underground and crashed into the trapped Midoshi. Anko popped out of the ground and was looking at the burning corpse. She was still alert as she neared the body. What she saw was discarded skin. Anko suddenly felt something cut into her side. She cried and jumped back to see Midoshi cloth. Midoshi jumped out of the ground and charged at Anko. Anko's injury slowed her down as Midoshi used taijutsu to attack. Anko defended as best as she could, but Midoshi proved to be faster than your average 12-year-old. The wound to her side was not helping her. Midoshi took advantage and kicked her where the wound was. Anko hit the ground in pain. Midoshi looked at her with disappointment. I was expecting a bit more out of you, but I guess that's that. I've grown bored of you and I have a job to do, Midoshi said. Her veil prepared to strike her when an explosion caught her attention. From out the smoke, a ball with spikes came at her. She moved to get out of the way. As she landed, a blonde with a naginata appeared and attacked her. She was very surprised by the skill and speed at which he was wielding the weapon. Jacken kept Naruto covered while Yakumo got Anko out of the way. Midoshi ducked under Naruto's swing and attempted to kick him. Naruto blocked her kick with the weapon but saw the veil around her waist come at him. Jacken countered with his kusarigama and pulled her veil, causing her to be off balance. Naruto stabbed the blade into the veil and kicked Midoshi 2 times. He swung around the weapon and planted 2 feet into her chest, sending her flying. Midoshi stood to face her attackers. Naruto held his naginata out while Jacken spun the spiked ball above his head. Jacken was the first to attack, throwing the ball at her. She dodged it and charged. Naruto met her charge and the two were engaged in another round. Jacken joined in the fray. Midoshi was having trouble fighting the two of them as they were in sync with each other. Guys, I'm ready. You need to get back here, Yakumo shouted. Naruto and Jacken disengaged and made their way toward Yakumo and Anko. Midoshi wasn't about to allow that to happen and readied to summon another serpent. Suddenly, she found herself unable to move. She struggled against this invisible force when the ground under her collapsed. She looked down to see a huge lava pool and it looked ready to erupt. Midoshi smirked as she realized that this was a genjutsu set up by the girl. She released a bit of chakra to dispel it, but she found that she couldn't. She used a bit more of her chakra to break out of it, but she couldn't. That's when the pool of lava erupted. Midoshi's eyes went wide as the lava consumed her. The team looked on as Yakumo focused her chakra through her drawing. Yakumo suddenly pitched forward, but she was caught by Jacken. He placed her on his back and secured her. Naruto used his clones to carry Anko and together they left. Unknown to them, Midoshi was on the other side of the room as she watched the image disappear. She summoned a large group of snakes to surround her. One of them caused enough pain to get her loose. She escaped just as the lava consumed her. She took several breaths to calm herself. She looked to see that the snakes she used were dead and burnt to a crisp. A genjutsu that causes actual damage, something like that exists within Konoha, she thought. Midoshi decided not to pursue them. She had done her task and she was now heading back to the base. In her mind, she was curious about this team of Ankos. It was now night and Team Anko took time to rest. Naruto set up traps while Yakumo tended Anko. Jacken, who was already taken care of, was cooking up the remaining rations that survived the mission. The group was deathly quiet. Even as Yakumo tended to Anko, she said nothing to her. Naruto came back and told his team that the traps are set. Anko saw that he was only directing that to his teammates and not her. When dinner was done, her team took some of it and sat at the other side of the camp. Anko sighed at this but did nothing against it. She deserved this for her actions against the team. She was warned by the Sandame not to allow her feelings to get in the way, but it did. She left her team to fight alone because she saw who she believed to be Orochimaru. She treated them lower than dirt when this mission began. She was only trying to protect them, but she alienated them instead. Anko ate alone again and it hurt. Hiruzen was always a perceptive shinobi. He developed it as he got older and passed it along to his students. It was a skill he passed along to Naruto as well. That's why he was not surprised by what was being reported to him by Anko. As he listened to her report, he observed her team. He could see the displeasure in their faces of being near Anko. It seems that his warning to her had gone unheard. Anko finished her report and he straightened himself up. Very well then, I can't call this mission a success as we gained nothing from this. I will, however, look into this Midoshi child. If she is this skilled, then she may be a problem in the future. Hiruzen said. He looked at Anko's genins. You three may leave now and consider yourselves on leave for a week. Thank you, Hokage-sama, they said and left his office quickly. He noticed that they didn't even spare Anko a glance as they left. Hiruzen saw that she took it all without complaint. He looked at her for a while before lighting the tobacco in his pipe. He blew out some smoke and sighed. It was my mistake to trust you with this mission. I thought that you would put the needs of their lives ahead of your pain. What do you have to say for yourself, Mitarashi? He asked seriously. I have no excuse, sir. I did put myself ahead of the squad and they were almost killed because of my past. For my actions, I am ready to face my punishment. Anko said. Oh, and what should your punishment be? He asked. I will immediately resign as a shinobi of Konoha. I do not deserve such an honor after my actions. She said. Hiruzen looked at her before taking another puff. Your request is denied. But sir, you're just running away from this issue and I refuse to allow that. You created this mess with your team and you will fix it. They have the potential to be great and you have the potential to be a great leader. I will not allow you to run away from this. Hiruzen explained. Anko sighed and looked down at her feet. They do not trust me nor do they respect me. I don't think I can plead my case to them. Anko said sadly. Then consider this a challenge as you have in the past. I remember a young woman who didn't let the words of some idiot stop her from becoming the most feared kunoichi in Konoha. Hiruzen said with a smile. Anko blushed at the praise. Hiruzen walked up to her and placed a hand on her shoulder. You are not your sensei and he made a mistake in throwing away your devotion for him. It will be a mistake that he will come to regret, I assure you. You have the chance to do what he could not. They will need you, don't abandon them. Anko nodded and left the office. It was a rare sight that Ibiki Morino walked in on. He was at a local bar that he took his people to when the day was over. At the bar, his number one wasn't drinking. He saw the bottle of sake and he saw that she had some in a cup but she wasn't drinking. He decided to see what was up with his number one. This is a rare sight indeed. Mitarashi Anko, not shit-faced and dancing. Ibiki joked. He looked at the bartender and put up 2 fingers. He turned his attention back to her. It was a Mitarashi joke. I'm not in the mood for jokes or drinking right now, Scarface. Anko said. Yep, it's all right. I was getting worried that we had a spy in the place. He saw. The bartender returned and placed 2 small sake bottles in front of him. He thanked the bartender and turned his attention back to her. I heard about your mission. You really screwed up. I know, all right. I don't need you writing about it. Anko snapped. I am your superior, so I have an opinion and my opinion is that you screwed up. Don't forget, Anko, I'm one of the few who isn't scared of you. Anko scoffed and returned to looking at her drink. Ibiki took a sip of his sake before he spoke again. So what are you going to do? I don't know. They hate me and they have a right to. My actions could have gotten them killed. Can I offer you some advice? Ibiki asked. Enko made a motion for him to continue. Move on and put it in the past. You have an opportunity to train 3 ninja who probably will be great in the near future. Orochimaru will still be around for you to get your answers, but for now you have to live in the present. Our past is our past, we learn from it and move on. Ibiki said. Enko looked at him with surprise. That was deep. You must really be sick to your stomach at this moment. Enko joked. I do need to take a shower, yes, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong. Ibiki said. Enko chuckled and looked at her drink. Live in the present, huh? She muttered. She gulped down the cup of sake. She slammed the cup down and let out a loud cheer. A round of sake on Ibiki. Hey! Ibiki shouted as the crowd cheered. The next day found Naruto eating his breakfast. He was eating his ramen and had a small carton of milk next to him. Ramen and milk, you have some weird taste, kid. A voice said. Naruto turned to see Enko at his window. What do you want? Naruto asked rudely. Meet me at Area 44 in 20 minutes. Don't argue with me and just do it. Enko ordered before disappearing. Naruto looked at the window before he sighed. He forgot about breakfast and went to get ready. Yakumo was feeding birds when she saw Enko standing outside her compound gates. She was curious and made her way to the front. Enko waited patiently as Yakumo approached. The 2 guards were glaring at her when they saw the heiress arrive. Mitarashi-san, what is it I can do for you? She asked. I need you to report to Training Ground 44 in 20 minutes. Enko said. But the Sandaime gave us the week off. Yakumo said with an edge. Yes, but we need to talk. If I have to kidnap you, I will. Enko threatens. That did not go over well with the guards who reached for their tantos. Yakumo looked at Enko, who had a serious expression on her face. As you wish, I will be there. Yakumo said. Thank you. Enko said and left the area. Yakumo made her way to the house as the guards tried to reason with her. Jacken stepped out of his apartment to do some shopping when Enko appeared in front of him. The 2 glared at each other before Jacken relented and sighed. Can I help you? He asked harshly. Area 44, 20 minutes, be there. Enko said. And what if I refuse? Jacken asked. You don't want to know. She said and disappeared using a shunshin. Jacken decided to be on the safe side and agree to the Saika's request. Naruto entered the area in his civilian clothes. He noticed that Jacken and Yakumo were there as well, also in their civilian clothes. As he walked, he felt that they were being watched. It wasn't Enko, but there seemed to be several of them that were surrounding the area. He walked up to his teammates and stood by them. You too, huh? He asked. Yep. Got a clue on what this is about? Jacken asked. Nope. Are you Yakumo? Naruto asked her. Not the slightest, Yakumo began when Enko appeared. Good, you came. I figured that I would have to do this the hard way. Enko said. She was greeted with silence. She sighed and steadied herself. Fine, you don't have to talk to me because all the talking will be done by me. First off, let me say this, I'm sorry. Those words caused everyone in the area to look at Enko in surprise. Jacken was the first to speak. Pinch me, I think I'm dreaming or under a genjutsu. He said. Yakumo did just that, causing Jacken to yelp in surprise. You said to pinch you. Yakumo said. I was freaking kidding. Jacken exclaimed. Enko chuckled at them and began to speak again. My actions on the mission were unacceptable even if I had reason to act that way. She said. What do you mean? Naruto asked. When I graduated from the academy, I wasn't placed on a team like you 3. I became an apprentice to one of the Sannin. That Sannin was Orochimaru. She explained. She looked to see if she had their attention still and was happy that she did. All I know is that he saw great potential in me and wanted to further my skills. He taught a lot of forbidden jutsu and I helped him with some of his experiments. I just want him to please him any way I can. You can even say that I loved him a little bit. She got this sad look on her face. What happened? Asked Yakumo. I became one of his experiments. Enko said. She removed her coat and turned around. She motioned them forward and pulled her mesh suit down around her shoulder. The team saw a tattoo. That is called the Ten no Juin. It is a seal that gives the user incredible power but at the cost of your freedom. I and 9 others were given this seal. I was the only one to survive. After that, he abandoned me and left me to the mercy of Konoha. Enko pulled back up the mesh and picked up her coat. She put it back on and faced her team again. I'm not telling you this so you would feel sorry for me. I'm not telling you so you would understand. I'm telling you because you deserve to know why what happened happened. Enko said. The team knew that Enko was putting herself out there and they did understand a little about her actions. Still, there was the trust that she lost from that mission. Enko saw this and smiled. So, now that you know, you have a choice. Choice? They asked. Yes, this has made me realize how much I still have to go to be an instructor. I do believe that you all have potential and I do feel that we can all bring out that in each other. However, there is the lack of trust we have. So, by the end of the week, I will return here at 8. If you still wish for me to lead, then be here and we can continue. If you feel that I can't be trusted, then I will switch with someone you can trust. The team looked at each other before looking at her. Well brats, I'll see ya in a week or I'll see around. Enko said and was gone via Shunshin. The sun brought in a new day in Konoha. It awoke Enko who sat up and yawned. She stretched her muscles out and scratched her head. She looked at her calendar and her mood dropped a bit. Today was the day that her fate would be decided. She looked to see that it was now 7:30 and she had 30 minutes to reach the training ground. She didn't want to get up but she knew that she was being selfish if she did. The truth was, she enjoyed teaching a little. Their chance to mold 3 little brats into a likeness of her made her giddy. Still, she knew that they didn't trust her. Well, no use stalling. Let's get this over with. Enko thought. She made her way to Area 44. When she arrived, she was very surprised to see her team waiting for her. She walked up to them as they stood at attention. This is a surprise. Enko spoke. Well, I know how it feels to have secrets that you don't want to tell. Naruto said. I know what it is to be left alone when someone you think cares. Yakumo said. I believe in second chances. Jacken said. So you really want me as your sensei? I can't promise that something like this won't happen again. Enko said. Yeah, but like you said, we can learn from one another. While you teach us, we can teach you or make you forget or something. Naruto said. You think that you can teach me something? Enko said with humor. Enko looked at them with a smirk. Fine, you had your chance to escape but now you belong to me. I'm going to train you little bastards in a supreme fighting force that can do anything and kill anything. This, my little prisoners, is a start of something new. Are you with me? Hi sensei. The team shouted. Alright then, Enko shouted and slammed her hands onto the ground. The smoke cleared and a familiar reptile came into view. Mai hissed at the team and looked like she had a smirk on her face. The team took off as they didn't want to get caught. Enko jumped on Mai's head and the snake charged at them. The team continued to run as the insane laughter of Enko rang throughout the training ground. Midoshi twirled a kunai as she laid lazily in her room. Her mind wasn't on the various serpents that roamed around her room. It was on that team she encountered. While Enko was not impressive, her genin were. It was the only reason why she didn't remove her from the snake contract. A girl that could make genjutsu into reality was very interesting. She wondered if the other 2 were just as interesting as her. She decided to keep an ear out about this team. She figured that it might be fun down the road. That's it for part 2. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Naruto What If stories. And comment below, do you think Naruto will become the next God of Shinobi? See you in the next video.